It's actually not hard to let go of the person who's emotionally abusive, who was emotionally abusive. It's actually hard to let go of the dynamic. And this is why we snap back and we get into relationships that don't serve us. This is why you hear, I'm always attracted to the same type of person. It's not the person, it's the dynamic. It's what's happening underneath. So let me explain. Based on your story, your upbringing, what you're used to, what you saw while growing up, right? And most of us, we've witnessed dysfunction. Very few of us actually grew up in a very healthy environment where love was healthy and there was a space for people to grow and be heard. That's rare, right? Most of us grew up with lots of chaos. Most of us grew up with people who are unaware and lots of reactions. And also, most of us grew up in the space of addiction, right? They say you could throw a quarter and hit an addict. And if there's addiction, then there is codependency. If there's addiction, then there is this sticky dynamic that happens underneath. And so, it doesn't matter if that is partly from environment, genetic, it doesn't matter where it came from. What matters is to be aware of that dynamic, because if you're not, then you're always going to be drawn to the chaos. You're always going to be drawn to what I call the sticky, and you're going to mistake that for love. And that sticky, that chaos is powerful. There's a lot of dopamine there. There's a cycle that you go through when you get caught up in that dynamic that is, it's like a riptide. It pulls you in. You start to define love with these crazy up and down feelings. And then when you meet someone healthy, it actually feels kind of boring because you're so used to the chaos, whether it was growing up or in your 20s or whatever, right? So most people, when they try to leave emotionally abusive relationships, or, maybe it's not even abusive, but just relationships that were toxic or unhealthy or whatever, it's not that they're missing the person, they're missing the dynamic. And so we end up, snapping back and finding the same dynamic because we think that that's what love looks like, or we feel, or we're trying to trace the feeling of that because it's so powerful and there's so much dopamine and we're addicted to that roller coaster, when really what we're doing is repeating patterns. So it's not about the person. And I'm saying this because it's important to know you don't want to go back to that person. You're craving that dynamic, which is unhealthy. If you can swim past that, set yourself up for a new love experience and realize that that dynamic is unhealthy by experiencing a new healthier dynamic and sitting with that, then that becomes the standard, and the new healthy dynamic then is something you start to get thirsty for as your love buds change, and what you used to be attracted to now repels you. But to get there, you gotta swim past this, right? So just know that it's not your ex that you want. You're craving the chaotic, sticky dynamic that you're used to.